Recently, there have been significant developments in the relationship between France and Niger. French President Emmanuel Macron initially took a strong stance, declaring that the French ambassador and troops would remain in Niger, and refusing to recognize the military junta. However, when this approach proved ineffective, Macron shifted his strategy and aligned himself with the regional bloc, Ecowas, leveraging the influence of Nigerian President Tinubu, whom some perceive as having close ties to France. A peculiar meeting between President Tinubu and Macron ensued, where the Nigerian leader received questionable but preferential treatment. They exchanged embraces and kisses, and seemingly enjoyed each other's company. This encounter was orchestrated to create enough opposition against Niger's junta to reverse the coup and reinstate Mohammed Bazoum, whom some regard as a puppet of the West. Despite these efforts, the plan did not succeed. Faced with this setback, France decided to take a drastic step. President Macron resorted to offering a substantial bribe to the leaders of Niger's junta, likely hoping that they would accept the bribe and restore power to Bazoum. However, the response from Niger's junta surprised not only Macron, but also the entire European community. What actions did they take? Watch the video to find out. It is worth noting that PLO Lumumba once made a valid observation that many African leaders elected into power are corrupt. This contradicts the Western narrative, which claims that democratically elected leaders work for the benefit of their citizens. In reality, Western influence often shapes the behavior of African leaders and presidents. In their quest to maintain power, they willingly follow the orders of the West, disregarding the well-being of their people. However, military leaders, on the other hand, have been known to bring positive change to the lives of the average citizens by implementing initiatives that improve their livelihoods. One notable example is Thomas Sankara, who transformed Burkina Faso and is still remembered by the people to this day. Instead of selling the country's resources at undervalued prices to the West, these leaders prioritize monetizing these resources to establish industries and production plants that can drive their country's growth. This approach is not welcomed by the West, as it undermines their ability to exploit these resources fully. Despite proclaiming support for the development of African nations, the West does not desire complete self-sufficiency and independence for these countries. When Niger's elected president, who was seen as a Western puppet, was overthrown and replaced by a military junta, the West immediately united in opposition to the military rule. This opposition stems from the West's understanding that under military rule, their ability to exploit resources would be severely curtailed. In an attempt to reverse the coup in Niger, France employed various tactics, including exerting pressure, imposing sanctions, and terminating aid. It even encouraged Ecowas to impose sanctions and threaten military intervention. Unfortunately for France, none of these strategies yielded the desired outcome. Consequently, President Macron concluded that offering a bribe might be a more effective approach. Given France's significant political and economic interests in the region, the country has a history of actively involving itself in African political affairs. To exert influence and restore order, France extended a bribe to the junta currently in control of Niger, led by General Chiani. This bribe amounted to 60 billion CFA francs, roughly equivalent to $100 million. It's important to note that the financial offer made by France is not intended as financial aid for Niger as a whole, but specifically for the junta leaders. The intention behind this offer is for the junta leaders to use the money for themselves and to reinstate Mohammed Bazoum to power, rather than allocating it towards public projects and initiatives. There are two primary objectives behind France's financial offer. Firstly, it aims to encourage the junta to reconsider their actions and return to democratic governance. Secondly, it seeks to facilitate dialogue and negotiations to restore civilian authorities in Niger. However, the underlying motivation for France's preference for a democratic leader lies in the fact that such leaders are generally easier to work with, enabling France to accomplish its objectives more smoothly. The absence of media coverage regarding this bribe offer can be attributed to the deliberate efforts to maintain secrecy. The confidentiality surrounding the offer was crucial to prevent premature disclosure that could disrupt ongoing diplomatic maneuvers. Revealing the offer could lead to allegations of bribery, coercion, or unwanted interference in Niger's internal affairs, potentially straining diplomatic relations and undermining France's global credibility. Moreover, public disclosure of the offer could pose a risk to the French president, potentially resulting in impeachment if bribery allegations gain traction. Nonetheless, despite the meticulous efforts to maintain secrecy, the news of the offer was leaked by officials from both Niger and France. This revelation raised questions about the true motivations behind the offer, the extent of French influence over Niger's politics, and the ethical implications of using financial incentives in diplomatic dealings. One reason for the lack of media reporting on the bribe offer is the strategy employed in its presentation. The French president avoided direct communication of the offer by utilizing intermediaries, such as private companies. This approach serves multiple purposes, including providing plausible deniability for the president and reducing the risk of direct implications if the offer were to become public. Conducting bribery through private entities adds a layer of discretion and confidentiality to the process, compared to official government channels. Now the question arises: how did Niger's military junta and General Tiani respond to the bribe offer? General Tiani understood that the West had developed a reputation for offering bribes due to the actions of former African leaders who had accepted them without shame. However, he believed that this had to change. Examples such as Mobutu Sese Seko, who ruled Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, from 1965 to 1997, amassed personal wealth while the majority of the population lived in poverty. He obtained this wealth through corrupt means, including accepting bribes from Western powers in exchange for financial aid and political support. Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo, the long-serving president of Equatorial Guinea since 1979, is another prominent figure associated with allegations of embezzling billions of dollars in oil revenue for personal gain, given Equatorial Guinea's significant oil reserves. General Tiani faced a crucial decision regarding the bribe offer he received. He could have chosen to accept the bribe and expose France's actions, or he could have quietly rejected the offer without revealing anything to anyone. To prevent potential political turmoil within Niger, General Tiani made the choice not to disclose the bribe offer. Drawing attention to such a sensitive matter could have sparked internal unrest, destabilizing the country and undermining its governance during a critical period. Moreover, General Tiani likely considered the broader consequences of publicizing the bribe offer on Niger's international reputation. Revealing the incident could have damaged Niger's standing on the global stage, raising doubts about the country's stability and integrity in the eyes of the international community. This, in turn, could have negative repercussions on foreign investment, diplomatic relations, and international assistance, impeding Niger's socio-economic progress. General Tiani carefully assessed the potential impact of exposing the bribe offer on Niger's overall bureaucracy. If he had disclosed the bribery attempt, it could have implied that Niger's officials were susceptible to bribery, potentially leading to more instances of corruption. To prevent similar events in the future, General Tiani took decisive action. By rejecting the bribe, he displayed courage and integrity. However, his decision also highlighted deep-seated concerns about the vulnerability of officials at all levels to the allure of bribery. The susceptibility of officials to bribery poses a significant threat, as it may lead to the disclosure of sensitive information or actions that undermine Niger's stability, particularly under military rule. To counter this looming danger, General Tiani implemented a multifaceted approach to combat corruption within the government. One strategy involved implementing robust anti-corruption policies and legislation, backed by stringent enforcement mechanisms. In this regard, General Abdourahmane and Kiani established an anti-corruption commission and a state court. These transitional bodies were officially inaugurated through televised ceremonies, with members taking an oath in the presence of General Kiani. The newly established State Court replaced the dissolved Court of Cassation and State Council, as outlined in the order governing public powers during the transitional period leading to elections. The Anti-Corruption Commission, comprising judges, military personnel, police officers, and representatives from civil society, aims to recover unlawfully acquired and misappropriated public assets. Its objective is to combat corruption at various levels of government, establishing clear guidelines for ethical conduct and delineating the consequences of transgressions. Now the question remains, why did the French president offer the bribe in the first place? France extended a significant sum of $100 million to the Niger military junta, with the purported goal of reversing the coup and reinstating Mohammed Bazoum as the nation's leader. This offer holds significance not only due to its substantial financial value, but also because of its potential impact on Niger's political landscape and France's interests in the region. The junta's control disrupted existing agreements or negotiations between Niger and French companies, which could have endangered France's access to Niger's resources. From France's perspective, incentivizing the junta to reinstall Bazoum through financial means could serve to safeguard French economic interests and maintain their dominance over Niger's resources. Are there reports of similar bribery attempts targeting other African military leaders? While Niger's military leader received a bribe offer from France, it is possible that neighboring countries' leaders, such as Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso and Colonel Goïta of Mali, were also approached with similar offers. The interconnected nature of regional politics and the influence of external actors suggests that these leaders may have faced similar propositions. Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali share geographic proximity and often encounter comparable political challenges, particularly in governance, security, and economic progress. However, it is plausible that leaders like Traoré and Goïta rejected such offers, as their acceptance could have drastically altered the course of events in their respective countries. These leaders appear to prioritize their nation's autonomy and integrity over personal gains or external interference. They likely viewed the offers as compromising their sovereignty and undermining their domestic legitimacy. Does this signify that France's attempts to entice military leaders have failed? The answer appears to be affirmative. Initially, France resorted to imposing sanctions on Niger, likely seeking to pressure the government into reinstating Mohammed Bazoum. These sanctions encompassed economic measures intended to weaken the government and force compliance with France's demands. When sanctions proved ineffective, France sought support from the Economic Community of West African States, Ecowas. Ecowas imposed sanctions and threatened military intervention. However, instead of succumbing to fear, Niger's military junta prepared to defend itself, surprising both Ecowas and France. Faced with diplomatic and international pressure tactics yielding no results, France resorted to bribery as a last-ditch effort. The bribe offer aimed to persuade Niger's military leader to overturn the coup and reinstate Bazoum. Nevertheless, the military leader's rejection of the bribe demonstrates his integrity and resistance against external influence. With each attempt to sway Niger's situation met with resistance, France now finds itself in a challenging position. What are your thoughts on the matter? What other tactics do you think France will employ to end the junta rule in Niger? Or will President Macron face criticism from French citizens for offering bribes to Niger's military junta? We invite you to share your opinions in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.